Hey everybody, how's it going? So today I want to discuss this interesting news where high tax states seem to be ripping each other apart to claw into their neighbors' tax revenue. So before I get into this, I just wanted to make the announcement that Oreo has been fired. He sleeps in the job. He can't even make eye contact with the camera. He doesn't have anything to contribute in the videos. He's not paying attention. He's not what we're looking for at the moment at Rossman Repair Group. So this chair is open. If Mr. Clinton would like to reclaim his position, he is welcome to. But we gave Oreo a shot, and he's just not doing what we need him to do. So he's gone. So what I want to go over today is this interesting article from Bloomberg. It says states battle each other over billions in work from home taxes. The worst fiscal crisis in decades is pitting U.S. states against one another over billions in taxes from residents working from home. Now, this is a particular point of contention because many of the people who live in New Jersey are not contributing to the state with regards to the income taxes. So New Jersey has a state income tax. New York has a state income tax. And if you are working at an office that's in New York, you are probably paying your taxes to New York rather than Jersey. So they live in Jersey, but they pay taxes to New York. And this is one of many reasons that New Jersey has to absolutely bend you over and sodomize you on the property taxes. Because if you're living in New Jersey, they need that 2.2%. They need that $10,000 to $20,000 a year from a old 50-year-old middle-class home in order to be able to fund things in the state because they're not getting the income taxes. I also did a video a while back where, honestly, if you read through this entire thing, it really does just read like a crime story. This entire thing just reads like a crime story with the NJEA at the center of it all, going over how 30 years of horrible mismanagement resulted in the state being, I think, something like $220 billion in unfunded liabilities, gigantic debts that they have absolutely no hope of ever paying back, even close to having a solvent pension fund. And that was prior to COVID. Now with COVID and all the unemployment and the collapsed revenues, they are very much screwed. So what you see a lot of these states doing is they're trying to battle over who gets to collect taxes for an employee. So if I live in Connecticut and work in Massachusetts, if I live in New Jersey and I work in New York, we used to have this whole setup where, you're paying New York state tax. And the states would often have a tax credit which says if you live in our state, but you work in that state, and that state requires, since you're going to their office, that you pay tax in their state, we will allow you to not pay the income tax in our state if you're going to work in that state. However, if you work for a New York company, but you're doing your work in New Jersey because now you're working from home, now you're a New Jersey resident who's doing their work in New Jersey. So we want that money. And there is a battle going on between the states over who gets to collect this money. It may be something that makes it as high as the Supreme Court. Here in the article, it says, with states around the U.S. facing steep deficits and little federal aid in sight, the shift to remote work could give many cash-strapped states a legitimate way to bring back much-needed tax revenue. The situation could set up a high-stakes money grab with New York and Massachusetts, two regional economic powerhouses that employ tens of thousands of out-of-state workers, battling over revenue that neighboring states now say is rightfully theirs. The resolution of this case has far-reaching implications as to which state will collect billions in revenue during the pandemic, New Jersey wrote in its brief. While the total amount paid in non-resident taxes is unclear, at stake for New Jersey is as much as $1.2 billion credited to its residents for income taxes paid to New York. Before the pandemic, more than 400,000 residents of New Jersey commuted to jobs in New York City. While with many of these people now working remotely, their taxes are more fairly attributed to New Jersey, said Treasurer Elizabeth Muoio. How do you pronounce a name that's just literally all vowels? I have no idea how to pronounce that. Said in a statement. 7 states currently tax people where their office is, even if they work remotely. While 6 of the states have permanent policies on non-resident income taxes, Massachusetts' rule came as a result of the pandemic. New Hampshire does not have a tax on income. New Hampshire's decision to not have broad-based taxes is essential to its sovereign identity, Governor Chris Sununu said Wednesday, summarizing his state's complaint. Massachusetts' current position is a far cry from our country's rallying call of no taxation without representation, which they seem to have forgotten originated in their state. Ouch! That is a libertarian burn if I've ever heard one. Massachusetts said its telecommute rule is temporary and due to expire when the governor declares an end to the pandemic state of emergency. I have a feeling that if you have put in place a regulation that allows you to collect more money from people, you're probably going to let that go for a little bit longer than necessary. Like, something tells me just that, call me crazy, that even once the COVID cases start going down, when the COVID deaths start going back down, that state of emergency may just last just a little bit longer than you imagine, that because they get to collect money based on it. According to New York's taxation website, any non-resident whose primary office is in the state but is telecommuting is still considered to be working in the state. So even if you're in New Jersey, and you're answering fresh desk tickets that came from a customer who may mail something to my business in Oregon, and that fresh desk server is located in, I don't know, let's say AWS, which is hosted in Seattle or something, you're working in New York. This is what I find hysterical. You have to understand, with our interconnected worlds, a customer of my business could be located in Florida. The employee working from home is using their New Jersey internet. Their New Jersey internet could be connecting to a server for my business that is located in Texas, yet somehow they are considered to be working in New York, the way that this is all written, which is obviously a money grab for New York, because similar to New Jersey, New York also has tons of unfunded liabilities when it comes to pensions, and tons of debt, and tons of social programs that it has no hope of paying for at this point in time. Many states, including New Jersey, provide a tax credit to eliminate double taxation of a person's income. Such taxes contain no mechanism to prevent double taxation if the taxpayer's home state does not allow a credit, New Jersey wrote in its brief. It results not only in an unconstitutional windfall, but diverts the revenues that home states would otherwise receive. The case was filed under the Supreme Court's original jurisdiction, which lets states sue one another directly at the nation's highest court. And it goes on, and this is interesting. I'm kind of curious. How do you think this will end? Do you think this will end with people paying taxes only in the state to which their employer is registered? Do you think this will end with employees who work from home only being taxed in their home state? Or do you think this will end with them paying taxes in both states? A cynical part of me kind of wonders if people are going to be taxed in both states, and the states are going to say, well, that the court is going to say that's a privilege. So you get to work from a company out of state, but you don't even have to leave your house? That's a privilege. And something, I have a feeling, a small feeling that maybe, I hope I'm wrong. That's one of the things about being a pessimist, is that when you're wrong, the world is a better place than you thought it was. Being a pessimist, I have a feeling that given just how close to bankruptcy these states are, just how screwed they are, just how much what the windfall there is between the amount of money they need to provide the services that they must provide so that the people in these states don't absolutely just run up and overthrow the government, and the amount of money that they're actually going to be collecting, that they're going to look for every single way to manipulate you and try to find a way to stick the tip in to take every last dime that they possibly can. And honestly, when you look at the amount of money that they go over in these presentations, when you look at just how screwed New Jersey is, when you look at this is, I think this is about a year old here. When you look at the just unfunded pension benefits, unfunded retiree healthcare benefits, other debts and everything that the state has, we're talking, even if you're arguing about $1 billion in, let's say, taxes a year, it's virtually nothing. What we're fighting over here is less than 1% of what is necessary to make these states whole again. It really kind of makes me want to just focus on, how do I put this, getting the F out of here. But obviously, the obvious problem with that is that I have all of my people here, and I lost half of my, maybe 75% of what hair I had remaining from stress from the last move. Moving and rehire. Oh my God, that would be such a mess. But I don't know. I don't see how they're going to make any of this work. They're fighting over crumbs, and the crumbs that are available, even if they win, even if they get their crumb, it is a crumb, and they haven't eaten in a week. This is crazy. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.